everybody. I am here today with Bonita Bo Money. I'm actually going to read off her accolades because she's got a lot, folks. She's done a lot of things. She's a former film and TV producer, which is amazing. She's founder of Women Above Ground and also the founder of the National Diversity and Inclusion Cannabis Alliance, known as NDICA. And one more thing that's out there, she's going to enlighten us further, but she's the co-founder of the Glass Jar. That's an organic cannabis-infused herbal cream and compound, a topical. So welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Hi.
How's it going?
Good. It's going very good. I'm surviving through this whole pandemic, but it's good. We're just finding different ways to work.
Right. We all are. We got to love this. You can't keep us down. We got this virtual environment to make our outreach even further. So I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. Yes. So let's jump right in. Tell me a little bit about you and tell me a little about your life leading up to being in cannabis.
Well, I've been in the entertainment industry for over 25 years. I still am in the industry. I've just had an emphasis and focus on cannabis for the past 5 years. So, and I'm actually fusing the two because I'm building content around the cannabis industry for TV and film. So that should be very interesting.
I think that's going to be awesome. I look forward to seeing many things like that. What led up to you getting further into the advocacy side of cannabis?
Well, originally I was looking at Colorado, just on the economic side of cannabis. When you have a state that's making so much tax money that they can basically write all of their constituents a rebate check, that's something to watch. So as an entrepreneur, I said, okay, I need to see what's going on with this cannabis industry. So I started networking and started going to conferences, meetups, meeting with folks that were pretty well established in the industry. And that's when I really discovered that there just weren't people that looked like me in the industry. There weren't people going to these conferences. It'd be like me and Montel and Marvin Washington that were people of color at these conferences, which to me was very disturbing because it doesn't make sense that this plant has been something that our folks have been put in prison for. And the war on drugs targeted our Black and brown folks. So now while the industry is making billions of dollars, you have folks that have been basically punished for utilizing this plant, for selling this plant, for growing this plant. So again, I just felt that we needed a platform at that point, women as well as people of color, to actually transition into the industry. So that's how I got into the advocacy side of cannabis, and understanding that if we didn't create social equity programs, if we didn't take down the barriers for people of color, they would not be in the industry.
Right. If something wasn't done to step in and advocate for people who are being penalized and further penalized after an industry has been created around something that they've been put away for, the more voices, the better. Definitely need someone to stand in their corner because it just doesn't. Absolutely. How does that match up?
Right. Absolutely.
Now what you are sitting in a jail cell for is something that people can walk into a store and purchase and put in their car legally and drive away, then we need to rethink what's going on.
Absolutely. And not only that, but you're talking about community reinvestment with this tax dollars. This money should be going into our communities, especially the communities that were targeted by the war on drugs. This is where we need to start infusing this money.
Indeed. Well, talk to me about how Women Above Ground plays into some of this this advocacy that you're talking about when it comes to women.
Women Above Ground was my first organization. So it was for women of color that were looking to transition into the industry. Sorry, it's so noisy. We're building out my facility. So they're on the roof, they're around everywhere. So yeah, sorry, but yeah. So Women Above Ground was, my first organization. And then all the men were like, well, what about us? What do you have for us? This is why I just broadened it and started NDICA, which is the National Diversity and Inclusion Cannabis Alliance, so that we could actually help more folks and really focus on the social justice and the social equity space of cannabis.
Okay. Tell me some of the latest projects that are going on with NDICA right now.
Well, right now I'm giving away money So I'm part of a grant program. It's called Returning Citizens Stimulus Grant. So we're able to give $2,700 for folks that have been returning from prison that have just been released in the last 12 months.
Okay,
So that's one of our programs right now. I do a Giving Tuesday, so we feed the community, we feed Skid Row, where we give out hygiene kits. We just want to make sure that people are safe, they're being fed, and they get the knowledge about what's going on with this coronavirus.
Excellent. That's very much so needed. There's a lot, the lines have gotten a lot longer out there for people who need food and other types of support out there. So excellent.
Absolutely. And then we're just gearing up for the city because we are, so just so you know, we're the only cannabis organization that's been funded by the governor's office. So we work with folks that have been harmed by the war on drugs that come from those marginalized communities. And so we provide job training, job placement, cannabis education, business development, workforce development, internships, mentorships. So just everything that we can do to service the communities that have been harmed.
Excellent. That's wonderful. So how does a person get started? If they are, just a person of color, a woman, whichever, and they want to get started with your organization, maybe obtain some services, what's their first way of getting to you?
Well, I'd say go to my website, and depending on where you are, because we're in Chicago, we're in Detroit, and then we're also in LA. Okay. So depending on where you are, and even if you are in states that aren't necessarily legal yet, it's still great to get involved and get educated, so you get ready for that legalization. So they can go to our website, which is www.NDICA. So there's no like INDICA, because everybody likes to say indica, which it's not. It's just NDICA.org. And they can sign up. Our memberships are free, and so they can sign up and then just get that information and education. So we have online courses, we have webinars. So there's a lot of ways they can get educated and get involved.
I see. And does anyone need to bring any money to the organization, a share of cost or anything like that? If they're looking to get licensure, maybe they want to have build out a facility. Do they need to have a certain financial backing before they can be eligible to work with you guys, or how extensive is it?
Well, not if they're just looking to get online classes and educated. We pretty much provide that for free. If they are looking to be owners of a business, then that's a whole different story, because it's costly to be in the industry. So they have to think about, can they really support being in the industry, and is that something for them? And it may be. And if it is, we can guide them, through the challenges of going through the application process and then licensing.
And that is a big challenge. It is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, a lot of these applications, excuse me, it's hot. A lot of these applications are like business plans, major business plans. So they're plans within plans. So you really have to hire a lot of the experts, because they're going to ask you for an architectural plan, a security plan. Some states ask you for an R&D plan. So depending on how extensive that state is and those applications are, it can be costly, anywhere probably up to $250,000 just for the application.
Yeah, that is a lot. Quite a few challenges. You can understand and recognize why some individuals in some sectors have these types of barriers to entry. Sometimes it's just getting the resources. You have the idea, you've got the plan in your mind, but execution is completely different when it comes to financials and And so it's good that you have courses. I'm certain your courses probably cover a few of those types of roadblocks.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So
because we want to be able to create resources to funding and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is why we have social equity plans, because with social equity plans, you can bring in partners and investors, but you still keep the majority share of your business. And with the different cities that have social equity plans, they've taken down the barriers to entry. So things like applications, they will fund technical assistance so that, you can navigate a little easier.
Very good. So tell me, what have been your greatest challenges, at any point in your time in cannabis, working with people and organizations? What's been some of your greatest challenges? Any issues with stigma and things like that?
Always. There's always issues with stigma, especially when you enter into these states that aren't quite legal, that are just trying to, pass their regulations, ordinances, pass a vote, whatever it is. We did an interview in, what was it, Baltimore, DC area. It was a radio show. And these folks do not want cannabis in their communities. And Baltimore, was hit very hard by the war on drugs. And it's still, the communities are still suffering, economically and every other which way. But they have the stigma about cannabis destroying their communities. Of course, a lot of our Black and brown folks went to prison. So people are it's like they're having PTSD. They're very afraid to even be around this plant, which is really sad because they're missing out on opportunity, whether it be the medical benefits, whether it be the financial, economic benefits, because this can create generational wealth. And this will be probably the last time we see an opportunity like this in a long time.
Indeed.
Or ever in our lifetime. I don't think in my lifetime I'm ever going to see an opportunity like this. So I just think that we need to educate our folks on what this really is. This is a legal industry, and there's a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of health benefits. So we need to get away from that and educate our folks. I think, education is the key component here.
It really is. I'm a strong believer in trying on all avenues to remove the stigma of cannabis. When it comes to women, we have an idea. I mean, everyone has an idea of what our role is and what we're supposed to do and what that's to include. Women, even discriminating against other women who utilize cannabis, even though they have a glass of wine, after the kids go to bed, they have a glass of wine, and I shouldn't be stigmatized just simply because I light up a joint. That's what's the difference,
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so, just even on that level, we have to start as small as possible in order to reach the mountains of what everyone really believes about this plant. So I think that's, again, something where we all have to be speaking the same language, and separating ourselves within the mix doesn't work. We need to all just kind of collectively say the same thing. This is a plant. This is an industry. This is a community.
Absolutely.
And we just definitely need to act together with that. So wonderful there. How about friends and family? I always ask people this too, because, everybody has their challenges with friends and family and what we do, what your mom thinks you do versus what your kids think you do and things like that. So any challenges there, any internal stigma when it comes to what you've done in cannabis and family friends?
Absolutely. Well, I come from a conservative Korean mother and then a law enforcement father. So that was definitely challenging, especially because they come from the era of, don't do drugs. Cannabis is a drug. I have uncles that still feel that way. But what happened was that once we started legalizing and they saw that there was a movement around it and there were medicinal benefits, they started to open up. So it took educating them, sitting them down and saying, okay, this is what this plant is. It's legal and these are the medicinal benefits. Because trust me, my mother was not having it at all. I spoke in Arizona, which is where they live now. And I spoke there about 2.5 years ago when Arizona just kind of opened up. And so it was a big conference, about 7,000 people. It was all over the news. So my parents were like, what are you doing? You speak about marijuana? My mother's like, Bonita, how do you speak about marijuana? And I'm like, Mom, it's legal. And that's why I had to really explain to her what it was, because it was more than just speaking about marijuana. It was about engaging our people of color and educating them on those opportunities and these health benefits. And I can't impress that any more, but I would say that is one of the biggest things, is making sure folks are educated. And that's what I had to do with my parents. But once they were able to utilize cannabis, they're big fans. Big fans.
Go into reefer madness like they thought they would.
Right, exactly. So they're big fans that utilize it, and they even reorder. My dad will call me up and say, where can I buy more of that?
That's excellent. That is, it's got to start somewhere. I mean, I've kind of done the same, similar background, very, very conservative. There's no margin for any error. If that error is considered cannabis, definitely not that accepted. It took pulling teeth of, and really talking to my mom in regards to how cannabinoids can help with some of the conditions that she's trying to medicate through these synthetic medications, you know, and having these side effects and things like that. And I finally got her to try some CBD. And
okay.
and it was wonderful. It was mild enough for her. It was effective, and she turned around. Now she's not 100%. She comes from a strong era of these are drugs. This is not regulated by. So, you know, we have to use caution, but she trusts me, so she's able to trust certain products. And I go, these are stepping stones into her understanding. And in her age group, it's kind of hard. You know, they feel a lot of fear around it because fear was generally, they know nothing but that. They don't understand the efficacies or anything like that, because it's hard to swallow that pill down when it's really always been told to them that this is a villain. This is something that will kill you. This causes problems in your neighborhood. This causes problems in your government. This causes problems in America. And so it's very hard to kind of change that, but slowly we're making it happen. And that's all we can ask for. And those are little tiny wins, right?
Yeah. And I just think that once folks see that it actually is effective and it works, then they're all in. And that's when they start telling their friends. I treat a lot of seniors, and it's been great because I'd like to see them get off those pharmaceuticals and really medicate with something that works with no side effects. You know, that's good for the body.
Absolutely. Nurture the body. First, do no harm, right? So tell me about this. We haven't talked about it yet, but I'm interested to hear a little bit more about the glass jar and the topical. Tell me a little bit more about how it works and how you came up with the ideas.
Well, this was because of my girlfriend, Princess Inca. She was dying of MRSA, literally. She had gotten MRSA after a surgery, and they had her in treatment for about 52 days in the hospital, had her IV'd up with vancomycin, you know, which is one of the strongest antibiotics, which just kills your system. So it just didn't work. I mean, you know, MRSA is a drug-resistant bacteria, staph infection. So ultimately, they generally amputate the area. That's how they treat it. And so after 52 days, she just said that wasn't an option for her. She wasn't going to do it. So she was prepared to die, basically. She left the hospital and, you know, against doctor's advice, and went home, started writing her will, and started researching. And she's from Amsterdam, and of course she's a big cannabis user, but never so much in the way medicinally, like using topicals to heal or anything like that. And I certainly had never created anything like that. But what I was doing at the time was I was donating free oil, RSO oil, Rick Simpson oil, to cancer patients. So she knew that, so she decided to call me and say, listen, I researched and I saw that there's developments in cannabis that may work for MRSA. And I said, well, I don't know, because I've never worked with any staph infection or anything like that, especially something that's drug resistant. But she said, you know, I have nothing to lose, so please, you know, if you could just try it. So this is when I basically researched, and I saw that there were terpenes that were very effective. They were antiviral, antibacterial, and they were natural antibiotics. So I was able to reach out to another colleague out in Maine, and she made a basic cream. And so what I did is I got this cream, and then I started adding the different ingredients that were very specific to being antibacterial and antiviral. So it was about 14 different extracts, all natural extracts that you could probably get in your garden, like oregano and things like that. So it was like all those different oils and terpenes. And there's a specific terpene in cannabis that works with MRSA. So where MRSA is drug resistant, it's not terpene and cannabis resistant. So it literally killed this MRSA and my girlfriend in about 4 to 5 days.
Wow.
And so she's alive to this day, healed up. I mean, amazing. And so just to make sure it wasn't a fluke, a lot of other people started reaching out to me when they heard about it. And so I was giving the cream out to all these folks that had MRSA for years, that wouldn't go away, and they were constantly being treated. and only having their systems broken down. And then also people that had other infections that wouldn't go away, topical infections. So I started just getting this cream out to everybody. And literally it was just saving lives and healing folks.
Bravo. That is amazing. That's really, and that is the type of thought process and innovation that we definitely need to be listening to, very much so. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And is that a product that can still be found in stores, or is this a privatized product of yours?
Yeah, we used to sell it online, but then when the DEA started sending everybody letters, everybody that had CBD products, a couple years ago, we took it off the market just because I didn't want to get that letter. I just didn't want to be on their radar. Because once you're on the radar, you are on their radar, and they will not leave you alone. So that's just not something I wanted to do. Because they would start, sending out letters to like Green Roads and Stanley Brothers for Charlotte's Web, and it's just ridiculous. So, but we are rebranding, and we're going to put it out probably next year.
Yeah. And this is my view. I want to just say that this is my view, that we shouldn't have to run scared when we are trying to help people. We shouldn't be in fear of becoming on someone's list so that we can no longer be productive in actually helping each other. That is ludicrous. And those who believe that that's the way to go, you are a part of the problem. That is hands down. We need to be really thinking of ideas such as this, where we can treat and help and heal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All the time. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
For that. So, all right. Well, tell me, what's up? What's next? What is next for Bo? What's she doing out there next to amaze us?
Well, we have Los Angeles that has their next round of retail licenses for social equity. So we're going to be working with folks, getting them prepared to apply. So with the technical assistance, the training, the business development, we want to get them ready. We want to be able to assist with funding, so, I've done quite a lot of that as far as putting investors, and I'm talking about real investors, not predatory investors, just the real, let's just do business investors that want to be fair. So I've been pairing applicants up with investors to make sure that, they can support being in this industry. And then just expanding NDICA. So I want to be in the cities that need us the most. Like Atlanta is one of my target cities, because that is definitely a city that should have a really solid social equity program to make sure that our folks do have ownership.
Exactly. Well, excellent. Definitely want to support everything that you do. We definitely want to put it out there that if you have ways of supporting this cause, definitely do so.
Yes.
And I definitely want to thank you for spending some time with me today. That's awesome. You've been amazing. Thanks.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. So shout out your websites where people can get a hold of you.
Yes, absolutely. So for anyone that is looking to get in the industry, whether it just be just working in the industry or having a career in the industry, you don't have to always touch the plant to be in the industry, because there's a lot of different ancillary businesses that are doing very well. Like I think tech is probably one of the spaces in cannabis that are probably most lucrative at this point. So I tell folks, please think about other things you can do in the industry. You don't have to own a dispensary or a cultivation center to be in the industry. And these are the things that we can assist you with. So if you are looking to even just educate yourself, reach out to us and we can help. And it's the NDICA, so it's THENDICA.org. And join as a member and partake of our lot of different workshops and classes online, and we're here to help.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good day.